Hello, I'm Alex Priestley, and this is Ep 4 of Ignite Insights.
Hello.
Hi.
Alex from Alex Priestley Talent. And I got some questions for you.
Marvellous. Hit me. I'm ready.
Absolutely. How did you get into becoming an agent?
So I did acting at university at Salford and didn't really know exactly what it was that I wanted to do, but I think I always had an inkling that it probably wasn't going to be acting. Knew that I was fairly good at the organisational side of the industry and bossing people around, and so then I saw an advertisement for an actor's agent job and applied for it and got it.
So you just did it?
Basically, yeah, I was just kind of thrown overnight into all aspects of it and given 120 existing artists on the books that I had to then start to get to know.
So you said you had quite a direct way into becoming it, but how would someone become an agent in your experience?
You know, it's a good question. I think it, obviously depends on experience, and if you've got, it's hard to know that it's definitely what you want to do without kind of giving it a whirl first. So I would probably recommend even just trying to get into it, perhaps unpaid as a work experience thing, and become perhaps an assistant to start with so that you can start to learn the ropes slowly and build up on your experience that way. And then hopefully you would become an agent yourself.
Excellent. What do you look for when you want to sign someone?
So I think it varies massively. It's the $1 million question, isn't it? I think, there's lots of different elements to it. I would say kind of age range, looks-wise, experience. Obviously the performance element is a massive part of it. And if you've got something that stands out or that I feel would be sellable or a bit different or quirky, or it's really hard to define.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would just say you've got to have something about you that's different from everyone else would be the main thing.
What would be your ideal client?
Ideal client, wow. Just someone I think who has that drive, can use that themselves to get where they want to be. Obviously proactive, on the ball. I always say to my lot, you've got to know who you're kind of trying to get in with, the casting directors. Do your research, who's casting what programmes do you want to be. There's so many elements to a good client, but I think communication, organisation, on the ball, be honest, don't try and kind of skirt round situations, just be completely honest, because that's why you have an agent, to have that relationship with, so that you can throw things together and sort problems out. I always say that I only represent legends, so
Sure.
You just got to kind of get on with it and be easy enough that everyone wants to work with you again. No pressure. That's it. That's all I need.
As simple as that. Great. Moving swiftly on. So some actors decide to go unrepresented. What do you think the advantages of having an agent is in this industry?
Massive. I would say that unless you were already kind of very, very established or had something very specific about you within the industry, it would be pretty difficult to do it without an agent. Obviously, I understand that there are people who start out and decide that they, when I say decide, that sometimes they don't have a choice. They can't get an agent and they have to get to a certain level before that happens. And so from that point of view, I do understand that, if you've not got a choice or you're not happy with where you are, that sometimes you are going to be unrepresented. But I do think ultimately you do need an agent really to get any further within the industry.
When an actor comes to you, do you think that they should have like a definite career plan? Like what kind of direction does an actor need to work with you?
Obviously, I think the more kind of idea that you have of the industry and how it works and where you want to be within that industry and where you fit, then it helps from our point of view to kind of hit the ground running. So I do think it's a good idea to have an idea. But I wouldn't ever expect anyone to kind of come in with a full plan and that's it, because ultimately that is something that we're going to build on together.
How do you balance that relationship between actor and agent? Like how much communication is there? Are you talking every day? Is it What's that look like?
Oh, I mean, it varies massively. I always say to my lot, you might have, which happens quite regularly at the moment, 5 or 6 jobs or auditions come in one day. So then I'll speak to them quite a lot in that day, and I'll be like, hi, it's me again. But then equally, there may be 2 or 3 months where it's fairly quiet, and, it depends on person to person, luck of the draw, what's going on, what kind of things are going out at the moment. So it's hard to put kind of an idea on that. It does really vary.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at the moment, I'm speaking to my clients all the time, so I think they are getting a bit bored of me, if that's a thing.
That's only a good thing, I'm sure.
Surely.
How should actors approach you for representation?
Again, I mean, it's not rocket science. At the end of the day, if you've got something that I feel there is room for on the books, then by all means kind of email in. It's difficult. I can't really think of any other examples of doing it that would, obviously it's different if I see someone and decide that I feel they would fit, because then that's kind of more from my angle. But if it is literally just someone applying who would like to be on the books, I think the best thing is an email with your spotlight link in, maybe a bit of detail of what you've done recently, what your background is, where you train, that kind of thing, just to give me an insight into what I need.
What do you look for in an actor's headshot?
I mean, headshots, again, differ massively. And one thing that I've found over the years is that, headshots, even if you're the most determined actor in the world, some people just aren't that photogenic or really struggle with that element of it. So, you could be literally the best actor in the world and never quite hit the mark with the headshots. I think it's just, giving an idea or an insight into the kind of actor and the kind of person you are from your headshot, and just obviously really, really strong and, a really good photographer that gets that.
How much prep do you give your actors before they head off to an audition?
Oh, see, that's, again, I think it very much depends on what the audition is for, how in-depth it is. Sometimes they may only have a line or a word for it, or they might have 3 or 4 pages just for the audition. So I do think it varies and very much depends on what it is, and also it depends on who it is who's doing the audition. For instance, if it's a casting director that I deal with regularly and I feel that I do have quite a good insight as to how they work and what they like and what their style is in terms of the audition process. Obviously, I would be stupid to not relay that to the actors, so they have as much preparation and information as possible in order to get the results that we both want from it. So in any way that I can help, maybe just giving my own opinion about the character or but like I said, equally how the casting director I feel might want it to be. Obviously, always will send the original breakdown with the character description on, so that they know exactly what to expect and what they've stated that they are looking for. But also, I always say to them, think about what they would wear as a character. And obviously, in terms of the script, they always say, shall I learn it? You know what? If you can learn it, it's so much better, because it's another part of it that you don't have to worry about, remembering your lines, looking at the script. I think I always say be as familiar as possible, obviously within reason, because sometimes you do get things literally hours before an audition. So I totally get that that's not always possible, but I just think it just means that it takes that worry away.
How long do clients tend to stay on your books? Like, is there much flow in the industry?
A couple of weeks. It never lasts long.
They get a day.
Yeah. Wow, how long is a piece of string? Sure. I've got actors on my books who have been with me right from the start, from day one, so 11 years. And then, and I think, again, the difficulty with being an agent is that relationship massively depends on person to person. You might absolutely get on like a house on fire and be best friends with one of your actors, and then another one might come on board, and a few weeks later, a few months later, it might be that you just don't quite gel, you don't work together that well, and there's never any real personal element to that. I think it is just like anything. Sometimes you get on with someone really well and sometimes you don't as much. Sometimes they want different things and work differently to how I do. And if that's the case, then I would actually prefer that to be discussed and dealt with sooner rather than later, because there's no point in wasting time. I do think, actors are so different, and it just depends on them as a person, me as a person, us gelling together and making sure that we both are on the same page with it.
Yeah.